Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. It's actually a great morning today, man. I'm in a very good mood. I was very satisfied with yesterday's boxing, man. And I think we really needed a strong weekend like this with all of the rough news that we've been getting in the past month or so. All right, a lot of cancellations and reschedules and we needed a good week. We needed a really strong week in boxing. Okay. Um, Shout out to everyone that participated in the live commentary last night. All right, had a great time. You know how we do. We always have a great time when we cover the fights live. A lot of people was here. All the usual supporters of the channel. All of you guys were here last night, and appreciate seeing you guys leaving comments, hitting the like button, and just supporting the channel. Anyway, anyone that donated to this channel, whether it's right on the video or through YouTube or through Cash App or Venmo, whatever way you support, I appreciate all of the support you guys have been giving me over the years. Okay, and been active. Going to try to keep it active, trying to drop content every single day. I'm going to try my best to do as much content as possible. So we have a lot to discuss. Okay, a whole lot. Now I wasn't able to watch all of the undercard fights on the cards yesterday because I was out. I didn't watch the undercard fights on the female card yet. All right, I'm going to get around to it this morning. I just wanted to look at a few things at some of the fights that we did discuss yesterday, like Marshall and Shields. I went back and watched a little bit of it today. All right. Just wanted to give myself a little bit more confirmation because while I was watching it yesterday, I was watching it in my car, sitting in traffic. So I wanted to confirm what I saw in yesterday's fight. All right, as far as my scorecards, the same with Baumgartner and Mayer. I wanted to rewatch the majority of the fight today, which I did this morning, just to confirm my scorecards. And my scorecards for most fights, just about all of them, my thoughts on the fights are pretty much all the same. All right. And I did go back and watch a little bit of the Plant Dirrell fight as well this morning. And, and I watched a little bit of the Frank Sanchez fight as well this morning. Okay. There's still a lot of fights I didn't see yet that I still want to watch. But, I wanted to get this live popping as early as possible. I was trying to get everything done by 11 o'clock this morning. I woke up really early and just turned my TV on. I came in here, turned my TV on. And, I was just going through the fights again over from yesterday. All right, El Chivo, what's up with you? El Chivo says, hey, BoxingWave, I had a great weekend. I bet $75 for a pick, parlay, Alicia, Shields, Wilder, and Haney, and won over $1,000, 1.3K. Good for you, man. Good for you, man. I wish I put money down yesterday. It's one of those things. Like I'm not really a gambler. I'm not. I should be. Especially with the day that I had yesterday. I was 5 for 5 for all the predictions that I made yesterday. I think the only inaccurate one was Plant winning by KO. I thought he was going to win by a unanimous decision, and he got the KO in there. Actually, one of the wildest KOs that I've seen all year. All right. Yeah, I just moved. Deuce, what's up, man? I just moved earlier last week. I haven't even been in here for a week. I did move, and yes, there's not going to be any more ambulance sirens in the background. I'm in a very quiet place, and this move has been. I'm still like not even halfway through with the unpacking. I have so much stuff to do. I still got a lot of furniture that's on the way, so I'm still settling in. But by the time I'm done and set everything up, I'm gonna definitely, the content is gonna be very good, and I'm looking really forward to what I'm bringing in the near future. All right. Definitely have a lot of plans for the channel. And I think moving and being in a different location, it's for the best for me and for the channel overall. All right. But yeah, yesterday was an amazing day of boxing, historical day, especially for the females, the female card, full female card. They were able to sell out the O2 Arena. And, I guess, especially for Americans, American boxing really, really had a great day, because all of the winners, you had, Alicia and Michaela are both Americans, but, Alicia won the fight. You had Shields winning the fight against Marshall. Plant had a big win. Wilder had a big win. David Haney had a big win. Okay. It was a really, really good day for the American fighters. And what I want to say is, when it comes to the American fighters and, boxing in America in general, I really wish that boxing in America was bigger than what it is. It's just not that big, anymore. People watch the fights, and yeah, there's more casuals, and people know about the highlights, because a lot of the highlights kind of go viral at times. I know the Haney picture was floating around on everything yesterday, or the last couple of days. But I wish boxing was bigger here in the States like it is in the UK, because I think a lot of the performances that we saw yesterday, it would have been very it would have been great for the fighters that won yesterday. I thought the Devin Haney George Kambosos fight was, even though it was still a dominant performance by Haney, I thought it was a better fight than the first fight, right? From both. I thought George was more aggressive, still not enough, and Haney leveled up too. I think they both leveled up. I really scored it the same way. I just don't think George did much of anything in the fight, but he was more aggressive. Haney was here in the first fight, and and George was here, and in the second fight, they both were here. They both leveled up, but George didn't have any more success in the fight, in my opinion. But I'll get to that soon. But what I was saying about American fighters, Shields, specifically her, the quote, I just wish that like a moment like that yesterday should be a big deal here. She's just not getting the recognition that other even female athletes are getting in America, like the tennis players, or the gymnasts in America, she's just not getting the recognition here. She probably got a lot more support being over there in the UK than she has ever gotten here. I've been watching all of her professional fights here, and I remember her being on Showtime, and I remember her last year doing the MMA thing, and she just wasn't buzzing like she should, because what she was doing and what she was accomplishing is amazing. And I didn't really feel it until yesterday. Yesterday was the first time where I felt like, wow, Shields and Marshall really put on, but Shields being a winner and looking so impressive in the fight. I was like, man, I wish he was getting that love and support here in America. People just really, boxing is just in America is weird. It's like there are a lot of fans here, and arenas they sell out. But I feel like, and maybe it could be partly because of her as far as going commercially, because I look at Shields and I look at her talent, and I say like, yo, she should be on commercials. She should have some sponsorships. She should be on ESPN. Like, she should be bigger than what she is. And maybe it has a little bit to do with her. But I've always said this about a lot of other fighters too, that's from in America, you know, even some of the male fighters. I think that she just should be bigger in what she's done. I mean, she is really, really good, man. I was watching a fight again this morning. She is really, really, really good. Really good. You know, and not to take anything away from Marshall, because Marshall really came to fight. But damn, I mean, Shields is really, really talented. You might, you know, whatever way you feel about her, she is a extremely talented fighter. I mean, the best I've ever seen, you know, not just based on the accomplishments, but when I'm watching her fight, she is very, very good. I mean, I'm talking about not female, like everybody else when it comes, because I'm going to be honest, everybody else in the female part of boxing, when you look at the, you know, the McCaskills and the Serranos and the Taylors and all of these top female fighters out there, Marshall, they all look amazing. They're all extremely talented. I'm not trying to take anything away from them. But Shields is just, and those are all special fighters. Shields is just, she's just at a different level. When I look at her fight, I can literally compare her to the men. Like, I think she is an elite fighter, period, in all of boxing. Like, she's very, very talented, you know. Um, I don't feel that way. I feel like all of them are really talented. But I could say Shields, out of all of boxing, period, she is one of the best boxers out there. I mean, the defense that she displayed yesterday and was able, the way she was able to slip a lot of those punches that um, Marshall drew was very, very impressive, man. And I really wish that on a commercial level, she was bigger than what she is. And maybe she'll get there. She is, I was listening to her, she's only 27 years old. But you know, maybe with that win, it'll come. You know, maybe it will come. But yes, ADAC says she even tried the MMA thing. You guys gotta remember, Shields took last year, she took 2 MMA fights. She actually, and that was a concern that I had for Clarissa, because you are putting more time and effort into MMA. And I said this in a video. I said, you know, I'm kind of concerned about the Marshall fight, because you're taking time away from boxing to develop talent in another sport, right? Another martial art. And you're leading up to your biggest test as a boxer at the same time. And I also said I said this before in a video. I said it kind of reminds me of Conor McGregor, because once Conor turned into a boxer, right, and fought Floyd and was preparing for Floyd and fighting, like sparring with Paulie and all of this stuff, I saw him fight in MMA a couple of times, and I saw that Conor had changed his style. You know, it affected him in somewhat in a negative way going back to MMA, because he became more limited. He was fighting more like a boxer than the mixed martial artist that he was previous to the boxing fights. And that was one big concern that I had for Clarissa when she went off into the MMA world, just to return back to the boxing world to take her toughest challenge. So for her to do that well yesterday was kind of crazy to me, you know? So anyway, shout out to everyone that's joining us. What's up, Ron? What's up, Ron Boy Fresh? What's good with you, Slim? Deuce, what's up? Bon Kiki, what's happening? Everybody that's here, salute, hit the thumbs up. So yeah, we're gonna go through all of these fights. I'm gonna start out real quick. I just want to breeze through the the Sanchez fight. All right. He beat Carlos Negron, and it was a heavyweight fight. It was actually a good fight because I never see Sanchez be that, like, I don't want to say I never seen him because I have, but I noticed that depending on who he's facing, Frank is usually, on his back foot. He's moving a lot. He's using the ring. But that fight last night, he went straight at Negron, and I think it's because he was trying to get a knockout. I said it as early as the first round. Thought he was forcing a knockout a little too early, too hard, too early, but it actually made it a good fight, and his KO was good. I think he's trouble for anyone because he can adjust, and he can fight a real slippery defensive fight, or he could bring the fight straight to you. I don't think he has the craziest power, but he is a big man. He is fast. He does have knockout power. And he looked very good yesterday against a fighter that we all expected him to win. But I like the fact that he took the fight to Carlos Negron. And Negron actually performed pretty well. I gave Negron a couple of rounds. I did watch it again. I was watching it yesterday, but I was like keeping my eye on it. I wasn't really watching it round by round because we was covering the other fights. But Negron performed good. And Frank Sanchez did his thing yesterday. Roland Collins, thank you for the donations. He says Americans love slam dunks and knockouts. The WNBA and Clarissa Shields provide neither. Perhaps they should lower the WNBA rim to 9 feet and increase rounds to 3 minutes. Rousey was stopping opponents in first rounds. You have a good point, and I'm not going to argue any of the points. I was actually listening to Shaquille O'Neal's interview on Drink Champs the other day, and even he was saying it himself about the WNBA. He said, lower the rim just a tad bit, just lower it a little bit. There are a few female WNBA, I was going to say fighters, basketball players that can dunk, but they can barely dunk, and they're not like explosive dunks. I think they should, they don't want to. And I think it has a lot to do with ego. They want to show and prove to the world that they can do what the men are doing. And it's proven that you can, not on an athletic level. I mean, on a skill level, yes, they are very skilled. But yes, I agree on a WNBA point that yes, I think that I think they should, lower the rim. Now, as far as Clarissa Shields not getting the KOs, you do have a point. People do like Americans do like KOs. They do. They that's what people, focus on and pay attention to. When they see the KOs, they're like, ooh, wait, like, yo, who's this person? But then again, there are a lot of fighters that are getting KOs, are not that big, I mean, I just think boxing in general is not that big, and I think being a woman on top of that, it definitely hurts her too, I don't want to blame it all on KOs. I think KOs is a part of it though. So I agree with you. I do not disagree with you. All right. I do not disagree with you. But I just think that when it comes to Ronda Rousey, the promotion, I do believe that her being Caucasian has a lot to do with it because we just never see someone being that dominant before, and the timing was perfect for the UFC because they was pushing the female MMA thing. World was growing quickly, and the UFC has been growing, and her, attractive, having a smile, saying all the right things, it just brought, because it just made her popular. The timing was perfect for Ronda Rousey. It was perfect. But when she fell, it was a hard fall. It was a hard fall. When she fell off, and she took those losses. When she came back and forth Nunes, and Nunes just destroyed her. That's the way it happens, man. If we're being honest, I think Shields. I think Shields is very similar to the WNBA. I think another part of it is that females don't support her enough, just like females don't support the WNBA enough. This is something that I've always said. I'm like, I've been to one WNBA game, and there were no women there except the women that were with their man, their husband that was there to watch the game. You just see women there with their partner. There were some, I'm not going to say there was no women there, but I want to see, women don't support the WNBA like the men do. So all of the talk about, even in boxing, can we be honest? Men are fans of female boxing. The ones, at least the ones here, I think the majority of us are just, and it's men in general are just fans of these sports in general. All right. But I hope this create opportunities for Claressa Shields. All right. I'll get more into the breakdown of the actual fight a little later in this video. But yeah, let's keep it moving. So, Frank Sanchez gets I think it was like a ninth round knockout or stoppage. I thought the stoppage was cool. I think Carlos Negron could have continued. Yes, he was fighting back, but he was taking very heavy shots. He already got knocked down heavy. And I just think that, I just think that the stoppage was legit, and I just want to see Frank step up. I don't know where I should have checked. I don't know where he's at with as far as the rankings is concerned, but I think Frank is going to be hard for anyone to beat, period. I don't think anyone beats him easy. Anyone. I'm talking about even the top 4 guys. I don't think Frank Sanchez is going to be easy to beat for anyone. So, that's how I feel about that. Now, let's move on. Let's talk about Alicia Baumgardner against Michaela Mayer, which I went back and watched. Now, I had my card yesterday was 5 rounds for Alicia, 4 rounds for Mayer, and there was one tied round that I scored, the 3rd round. I did watch that 3rd round again today. Well, I watched the whole fight this morning. And I think I'm gonna lean a little bit towards Alicia and give her that 3rd round. That swing round that I had is still a swing round. There's a few swing rounds, in my opinion, but I scored it. I'm scoring it 6 rounds to 4 for Alicia. I think there's about 3 swing rounds in there. There's people that got Mayer edge in the fight as well. I'm not mad at it. I thought they was going to score the draw. I was actually surprised it wasn't a draw. But the fight was very, very close. What I like from Alicia is the first 2 or 3 rounds, I thought she landed the more bigger, effective shots. Counter punches was good. I liked the way she fought on the back foot. Time was on point. I liked her head movement early. She was doing a good job slipping and countering shots early. Then Michaela started to press on after the 3rd round. In the 3rd round, but the 4th, 5th, and 6th, those are the rounds that I gave Mayer. I thought Mayer was starting to put some work on Alicia because Alicia wasn't moving her head. She started to become an easier target, and Mayer started to step up the volume and the pressure. She was coming forward for most of this fight, period, but she was really having some good success in those middle rounds there and picking up rounds. And then I thought there was another change where Alicia started to pick up steam, started letting her hands go, started landing some big overhand rights in the 7th and 8th rounds, which I score for Alicia. So she came back and started picking up a couple more rounds. I think Mayer won the ninth. I thought that was another swing round that I gave the Mayor, and I thought the 10th round was another swing round that I gave for Alicia. So I had it scored 6 rounds to 4. I, you know, my whole thing was I thought that was probably the closest fight out of all of the main fights of last night. I thought that was the closest one. Wasn't I'm not gonna lie. I expected it to be a little bit more action, like, you know, because of all the talk and the bad blood. Especially for Mayor. I want to say Mayor, I expected a little bit more from her because of, you know, I just thought she was going to be a little bit more aggressive. But I think because Alicia landing those big shots, all right, and moving, I think that kind of like made Mayor like a little too cautious, you know, um, and it made her not let her hands go as freely as she normally did. You know, I said in a prediction that I did for this fight, you know, Mayer's been getting into these fights where she's been tough with some really tough pressure fighters, and she's been falling, and she's winning the fights, but she always falls into fighting her opponent's fight, you know, because she's been fighting pressure fighters. Now that she fought a fighter that's a good boxer with power, a good counterpuncher, a boxer that is, you know, has some slickness to her, I said that the reason why I gave Alicia the win, as far as the prediction is concerned, is because I just didn't know what Mayer was going to do with a fighter that was good, that good of a counterpuncher, that had that power. And she kind of controlled and neutralized Mayer at certain points in the fight. Now, Mayer has some good success. One thing I did like about Mayer is the body shots. I did like Mayer. I like what Mayer was doing. She was pretty consistent throughout the fight with the body shot, but it just wasn't enough. I think they are going to have a rematch, and they probably will at some point. They will. I don't know. I know Alicia says she's not interested because she's going to go for undisputed. I mean, she won the fight yesterday. This was a unification match. You know, she had one major title, and Mayer had 2. So now Alicia holds 3 of the titles, and Choi has the last final title. So she's going to try to go for undisputed, which I don't blame her. And this is my thing when it comes to, and I would have said this with anybody who won. You know, I say this with anybody who wins. We've been getting so many like rematches and rematch clauses and stuff like that, that it's been holding up the divisions, you know, and the sport in general. We don't always need to get immediate rematches. We don't always need it. If you look at the older days when some of these fighters lost fights, like, you know, when you think of Ali and you know, him losing to Frazier that first fight, it took him a while to get another title shot, you know, and this is how it went when you had less titles. When you have less titles, the next fighter is going to get their opportunity once you take an L. You're not going to always get an immediate rematch. So even if the fight is very close, which this was, because there's a lot of back and forth. I've seen out of all of the fights that we saw yesterday, this was the closest one. And this is the most disputed win out of all of the wins, because I think this could have gone either way. I believe that Alicia won 6-4. All right. But I've seen a lot of Mayer. I thought Mayer edged it out, or I've seen a lot of draws, you know. But it doesn't mean, and I would have said the same if Mayer won. We don't always need an immediate rematch every time that there's a close fight. We don't need it, you know. Mayer can still do what she could do, you know. Maybe she go up, and I think that's part of the problem with Mayer. Mayer is very, very tall. Maybe she should fight at 135 or whatever. Maybe she should go up in weight, and like the way Terry Harper recently did. I mean, I didn't know, you know, Terry Harper went all the way to junior middleweight, but you know, maybe it's time for Mayer to go up a division or 2, you know, and maybe she'll be stronger. Maybe her stamina might be a little bit better. You know, maybe she should do it. I don't know. I have no idea. Right. And you guys are pretty much agreeing with me here we don't need an immediate rematch. Like it's bad enough that most of these fighters aren't fighting each other, and we're not getting a lot of fights, or we're not getting enough fights, or we getting all the reschedules that we get. The year is short. The year is short, man. We need to get as many. We got to diversify the fights. You know, it's bad enough that we have promoters and networks that cause separation between all of the great fighters. So we don't need an immediate rematch for every single fight. We don't need it. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I like for Alicia to go for undisputed. I think Mayer should, you know, figure it out. I mean, it wasn't a bad loss. It was a very close fight. It's. I know it's devastating because you know, I feel for her. I feel bad. I tweeted this yesterday because I'm a fan of her. I'm a fan of Alicia. I felt bad that Mayer lost, you know, because I've been watching for a long time, you know. But at the end of the day, you know, you don't need an immediate rematch. You know, and I think if you earn it, you will get another shot at some point. All right. But today, I mean, yesterday was just Alicia's day. It is what it is. All right. So very good fight. And I look forward to getting the undisputed fight. I mean, in my opinion, I think Alicia passed the hardest test at 130 for now. I think the one thing I want to say about Alicia, I still feel that she has to step up her condition a little bit more. All right. I think I think she needs to step it up a little bit more. Uh, you know, especially being that this is a 2-minute, 10-round fight. She gassed a little too early for me, you know, and that scared me. And she caught it back. She caught it back. I'm not saying she didn't, but she gassed a little bit too early. Hopefully she can get her conditioning a little bit better, you know, for she could fight at a higher level in those later rounds. I know I gave her the 7th and 8th, and that's cool. But those rounds between 4th and the 6th round, she just didn't have that snap and looked really gas. And I think if she were to fight someone that was a better pressure fighter, she might have taken an L, because if she fought someone that was more relentless, she would have struggled a little bit more. So just for the future, I think she needs to fight at a higher level in those middle or later rounds, in my opinion. All right. So with that being said, let's move on to the next fight. Let's talk about what else did we get. Let's talk about Caleb Plant. Let's talk about Caleb Plant and Anthony Dirrell. All right, which was on the undercard, was the co-main event of Wilder and Helenius. All right. This is Caleb Plant's first fight back since the Canelo loss. And look, it wasn't a great fight. It wasn't. You know, I was covering it yesterday, but I couldn't really cover it because I was watching mainly the Devin Haney, George Kambosos rematch. All right. So look, it wasn't a good fight. It was a lot of holding. It was a lot of wrestling. The ref had to keep stepping in, you know, mainly due to Dirrell, because I believe Dirrell was frustrated. So it was kind of an ugly fight. I thought Plant was letting his hands go a lot more. What did I notice with Plant? Well, Plant looked like he was sitting down on the punches better. You know, even the jab had that loud thud every time he landed, especially the ones to the body. It just seemed like Plant looked a little stronger. He was fighting at his pace. Again, Dirrell, who I thought was going to pick up the pace in the later half of the fight, Dirrell was never the type to let his hands go, and he was never a big volume puncher neither, right? So with that being said, Dirrell was kind of fighting Plant's pace, and he did land some good counters because he had solid hand speed too. He landed some big right hands on Plant, you know, had a Plant against the ropes at times. Plant took some of his best shots, but for the most part, Plant was outboxing him. Plant was outscoring him. Plant was quicker. He was smarter. He was more slippery. And Plant was doing what we know, like he normally does in every fight. So Plant looked good. He looked sharp. It just wasn't a great because there was some dry areas in the fight. As I was watching it today, it was some dry areas. It was areas where neither one was really doing anything, and it's and I think that helps with Plant because that's the pace that Plant wants to. He wants to box. He wants to slow things down. He wants to be the ring general and fight at his pace and pick his spots. He's not a high volume guy. He's a counter puncher. You know, he likes to work behind the jab. He likes to use a lot of lateral movement. So Plant fought the fight. Plant let the fight go the way he went by controlling the fight. And Dirrell didn't really do anything to make Plant uncomfortable. I think one of the main things that Plant gave Dirrell issues with was the fainting. You know, every time he fainted, you would see, you know, Dirrell jump over and over again. And that's just letting you know it's working because Dirrell is falling for it. He doesn't know when a real punch is coming, you know, and it's making him very cautious and when throwing because now he's concerned about getting counter. He doesn't know what's coming, you know, so he's worried about the lead attack and then he's also worried about getting countered. And you can see that Plant and his feints were really, really effective, and it was helping him stay in control of the fight. All right. Nicholas, thank you for the donation. He says the fans were booing OD at Barclays. Yeah, I mean, I can hear it when I was listening. I was watching it this morning. I can hear it. There were definitely boos. You know, again, it wasn't a great fight. You know, whenever there's a lot of wrestling, a lot of holding, elbows, it was physical for no reason. Like it wasn't effective. Like Dirrell wasn't really being. And thank you again for the super chat. Dirrell wasn't. He was being physical, but not being effective. Wasn't really doing anything. It was just more like it looked like he was frustrated, and it was a lot of dry periods in the fight. But let me say, man, that knockout was one of the craziest knockouts this year, for sure. Now, Caleb Plant with that hook to the body and that hook up top, you could tell Dirrell just was not expecting that hook, you know, because Plant will come in, he'll step in with the jab, he might throw a hook, but he normally steps back out. You know, he usually comes in, when he steps in and throws his flurry or combinations, he normally steps out. He threw the hook to the body, and there was a period when there was like a pause, and he came up with the hook up top. And you can tell Dirrell already dropped his hand because Dirrell had got so used to Plant stepping back out of danger that he got caught slipping. And yo, that knock, I was watching it again. I saw it like 5 times because I was trying to see how it like all got set up. Yo, Plant knocked him out. Like, damn, like that was a crazy knockout. And Dirrell was not only down for a long time, but even when they got him up and was getting him on that stool, you can tell Dirrell was still out of it, man. That was one of the craziest knockouts and most unexpected knockouts, not only because a Plant never had he's never been known to be a puncher, but Dirrell has always been a very durable fighter. Dirrell, I mean, even when the Benavidez fight, and even though Benavidez was dominant, Benavidez couldn't knock him out. It was just more like he was punishing him, so they stopped the fight. But they stopped it, while Dirrell was on his shield. This fight was just a complete KO. And I don't know what Dirrell is going to do. But when you lose like this, it kind of draws the beginning to the end. And I doubt that Dirrell actually retires. But if he doesn't retire, this could be that fight where it's showing us signs like, all right, we're pushing close to the end, because now at this point, yes, we know what you can do against some journeymen. We know he had a crazy knockout in his last fight, but when you lose like that and you get knocked out and you weren't winning the rounds neither, on top of that, He had some moments. He didn't land some good right hands that back plan up and had him against the ropes. But overall, Anthony, uh, I don't even know if he's ever been dropped, or maybe he has been dropped, but Anthony is always known to be durable. And when you get caught like that and get laid out like that, you have to at least think about, like, okay, at this level, losing to Benavidez, getting knocked out by Plant, you have to wonder, like, okay, is this the end? Is this the end? All right. So yeah, it was a very crazy. The knockout made up for the lack of entertainment in that fight. The fight was not a good fight. But it was an impressive win for Plant. It was impressive performance. I want to say it wasn't a good fight, not because of Plant, but mainly because of Dirrell, because Dirrell didn't have much for him. And Dirrell is up there. He's 37, pushing 38 or something like that, somewhere around there. I just don't know what else he can bring right now outside of just being a journeyman. As far as a championship level, I really don't know what he could do. And when it comes to Caleb Plant, let's get that Benavidez fight. I see you guys talking about Jamal in the comments, and listen, I would like that fight too. But Plant, Benavidez should be fighting. Hey, that fight should have happened a long time ago. It should have happened a long time ago. All right, it should have happened when they were both champions. All right, but I would love to see that fight. That is the fight that I want to see. I want to see Canelo fight Benavidez. All right, but now that Plant won this fight, he's made his return. This is a fight that I wanted before Canelo came in the picture at 168, and it's a fight that I still want now. And I like the Jamal Charlo fight. I love that fight. That's a good fight too. Now, but I don't know if Jamal really going to move up to 168. Right now, he's still at 160. He's a champion at 160. I want to see Jamal fight Jaime Munguia, Chris Eubank Jr., Gennady Golovkin, Janibek. I want to see him fight those guys. I want Benavidez and Plant. You guys are both PBC. Let's get it going. That's a great fight. They can either have that fight on the undercard as a co-main event of a pay-per-view, or they can have it as the main event on their own card. Plant and Benavidez is worth being a main event on their own card, not pay-per-view, but they should have that fight. I want to see that fight. I'm ready to see it. And Plant said it in his post-fight interview. I didn't want to come back and have some tune-up. I wanted to come back and have a real fight, and he gave us that. And I'm happy he gave us that. But now that you did that, let's not go back to tune-ups. You did that to Dirrell. You fought a former champion. You knocked him out. Nobody expected it. Let's get the Benavidez fight. Like, what is to wait for? Let's get it. Everybody that's here, let's get those likes up. Let's get up to 80 likes, please. If everybody here can do me the favor and smash that like button, hit that thumbs up for me right now. Do me that favor, please. All right, let's get these likes up, all the way up. All right, I want to get up to 100 before I get out of here. All right, so let's move on. Let's talk Devin Haney against George Kambosos 2. All right. The fight went as expected. Devin Haney performed, outboxed Kambosos again. I can't see anyone giving Kambosos any more than 1 or 2 rounds. I thought Haney did better. I think Haney showed more of his skill set here. He showed, he didn't just win with a jab. He drew a lot of right hands. I loved how he worked the body. I loved the counters. I love the power shots. I loved everything with Devin Haney in this fight. I really don't have any complaints with Devin Haney in this fight. I even liked how because I had to go back and watch some of it this morning, because I know towards the end, I think there was a couple of rounds where I couldn't really watch because I started to talk about Plant and Dirrell after the knockout. But I like how the fight got real gritty at the end. I think Devin really started to open up and he really dominated. He did even better this time, and he said that's what they were going to do. George tried to come in switching. He was switching. He was doing a lot of moving. He was moving his upper body. Um, I get it. He was trying to be more aggressive, which he was. He's doing a better job at closing the gap. But the thing with Haney, and especially in the first half of the fight, Haney knew that was going to happen, and Haney protected himself on the inside by tying up, which annoyed a lot of people. Yes, he initiated a lot of holds. He did it in the first fight as well. I said in my prediction that George would need to be physical and, show some of that strength, not let Haney just hold on to him. But he just couldn't deal with it. Haney would lock in and lock him up. Whenever Haney was uncomfortable in the inside, he would not let George do the work. George had a couple of moments where he landed some flurries on the inside, but for the most part, he just couldn't get it going. He couldn't get a good rhythm at all. So Haney, George, one issue I had with George, and I said this during the commentary, George was switching a lot, but he wasn't throwing anything as a southpaw. He would switch and then he'll switch over and then he'll switch back over. And it's like you're doing that, but you're not really throwing Haney off because you're not giving us any more punches from different angles. You're kind of just switching and you're just switching right back. And it didn't keep Haney from jabbing him when he did that. Haney, it didn't change Haney at all. I mean, even in the earlier rounds, he was switched, but I was looking to see if George was going to give us some more angles or something like that. He really didn't. Not only that, but the one thing I said that I thought George did well in the first fight was he was countering Haney's jab with his jab. I thought that George should have did that a lot more in this fight. I think he did a good job, a better job in closing the gap and throwing and landing some combinations at certain points of the fight. But, Haney just overall was just better and he was consistent throughout the fight. George was still trying to steal rounds by picking up the pace in the later half of each round, but it just wasn't enough. Like Haney was just more consistent and Haney was sitting down on his punches a lot better this time around. They both did better though. They both improved. It's just that being that Haney improved, even though George improved, Haney improved and Haney gave us more of his arsenal. And this is why it was a bloodier fight, a more physical fight. He sat down on the punches more. It was a better fight. It still wasn't a great fight, but it was a better fight than it was the first fight, especially in the second half. Yeah, Beth says I would have liked to see Kambosos fight southpaw. Haney has problems with southpaw. Yeah, I would have again. And look, it's like Marshall. It's like Savannah Marshall. Marshall has the ability to switch and throw angles from a southpaw position. She's not an actual southpaw, but she can throw punches from those angles and use those extra angles, whereas, if you're going to come in and do a style like a Leonard Bundle and you're going to continuously switch, throw punches from those angles, use different angles. Like don't just switch and then switch back and just keep doing exactly what you were already doing. It's like pointless. It's like you're not even confusing your opponent. Even like Conor McGregor, he was doing that with Floyd. He was coming in, he kept switching around. He was doing all this herky jerky stuff to throw. He's already awkward because he's not a natural boxer. So if you're going to be awkward, but add to your arsenal. And I feel like George, yes, he was moving a lot. That's good. He was slipping some jabs. So Haney couldn't win the fight just relying on his jab because George was moving and doing a lot of stuff. But at the same time, Now Haney's like, I'm not going to just throw the jab now. Now I'm going to follow up with the right hand all the time. You know, there was points where Haney was landing a 1-2 back to back to back. Boom, boom. Then he'll move, boom, boom, land another one. You know what I'm saying? So I think that Haney, even though George stepped it up, it made Haney step it up even more, and it made for a better fight. It was a much better fight, this fight, than the first one, you know? And it wasn't a great fight, but it was much better than the first one, in my opinion. You know, I don't know what George is gonna do. You know, outside of the, you know, I did listen to Haney and his post-fight interview, and he basically said, like, you know, they drew up Lomachenko and stuff like that. The question that I wanted to hear is, hey, are you going to stay at 135 or are you moving up? Let us know. That was the one question that I had. Like, listen, we know that you're willing to fight anyone, okay? But are you going to stay at 135 and are you going to fight Lomachenko at 135? That is the one question that I had after seeing him so drained the day before the fight at the weigh-in. Are you going to stay at 135? What are you going to do? You know, of course, you don't have to answer it right away because you just fought, but I would like to know whether or not Haney is going to stay at the weight. You know, I'm pretty sure that, you know, maybe we'll hear something after Lomachenko has his next fight, you know, because I still really want to see the fight between Haney and Lomachenko. All right. But a great performance with Haney. George, I'm not too sure what he's going to do. But like I've said in the past, you know, even after the first fight between him and Haney, George has been brought back down to who I thought he was before he beat TL, which is he's like an above average fighter, but he's not a top tier fighter. He beat a top tier fighter on a good night, and he barely won that fight. Not to take anything away from him because it was an amazing win, but you can't just win the title. You have to defend the title. And yes, there were a good amount of you that left comments that said that George was going to take it this time. George was going to get a knockout. I remember you guys. I still haven't seen any comments from you guys yet. I'm still looking for you. I'm still waiting from you. But there's a few people here that was telling me that George was going to win the second time around. He's focused. He's going to get the knockout. Yada, you know, he's going to make the adjustments and do what he has to do. All right. Nicholas, thank you again for the super chat. He says, do you think Haney is strong enough to clinch with Tank? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. He's bigger than Tank. Yes. Yes, absolutely. All right. Now, Tank is more powerful, like a power punch. He has a bigger punch. He's more explosive. But yes, he can tie up with Tank. He can control Tank. He can outbox Tank, in my opinion. He can definitely outbox Tank. My question is, if Tank catches him, which he will, how would he react to it? That's my question. You know? It's not about winning rounds. I know that Devin Haney can outbox and outscore Tank Davis in a boxing match. But can he do it for 12 rounds? That's the question. You know? So with that being said, let's move on to the next fight. And we're going to discuss Deontay Wilder's comeback win against Robert Helenius. All right. This is Wilder's first win. First fight since he lost to Fury in the trilogy. All right. He came back. He said he's sparred for 600 rounds. All right. He went to 600 rounds. He was able to drop his weight down. He came in at 114. Or I'm sorry, 214. 214 at the weigh-in. So we got Skinny Wilder is back. And in this fight here, it was a 1-round KO. Basically, as I was giving commentary, I just thought that Wilder just looked a little uncomfortable because, you know, he was moving. He was doing a lot of movement, but, you know, he just didn't look comfortable yet, you know, and I felt that as the rounds went on, I thought he would just look a little bit more relaxed, you know. I mean, it's the first round, so it is what it is. But Wilder, you can see that what Malik was doing was teaching him how to move a lot using the perimeter, you know what I'm saying? And then looking for opportunities to ambush you with the right hand, you know, not just being as, not being, I mean, Wilder has never really been completely flat-footed. Wilder does move, but he becomes flat-footed after a few rounds go by. And in this round, we never seen Wilder move that much. All right. He was very, very mobile. He was using the entire ring. Helenius was following him around, using jabs, landing jabs. At that point, I thought Helenius was landing more punches at that point. But when he got knocked out, again, just like I said in the breakdown, if you watch the fights where Helenius lost by KO, it's always going to be a right hand straight down the middle that was going to do it. It was always going to be that. We saw it against Jared Washington, because the problem with Helenius is that he doesn't move his head. I thought that in other fights, I thought he moved his head a little bit better earlier in the earlier rounds. But Helenius fought someone that has experience in fighting him. Wilder knows Helenius well because they sparred plenty of times. All right. So Wilder, if anybody knows how to beat Robert Helenius, Deontay Wilder does. All right. And if you're a guy that's head is going to be straight, because Helenius is more of, he's not a leaner, he's more of a guy that likes to lean back. He doesn't like leaning to the side, and he does fight in a high guard. So he does pretty good at blocking shots that are wide. But when it comes to shots that's going straight down the middle, he's an easy target, and he's kind of tailor-made for Wilder. Like, I thought he might have been a little bit better than Dominic Brazil. But after watching the fight last night, you can see that he was basically Dominic Brazil over again, because he's going to be right there for the right hand. Unlike some of the other fighters that Wilder has faced, like Arthur Spilka or Fury and Ortiz, these guys didn't always just keep their head dead centered, and Helenius got caught with a short right hand as he was coming in. Problem is, I think when I was watching the slow motion, Helenius was throwing a big, wide right hand, and Wilder just threw that short right hand right on the chin, right on his face, and it was over. A lot of people on the internet is saying that it was another dive. I don't think so. I don't believe that it was, but it could have been. I'm not running with that narrative. I think Wilder caught him because it was a fighter that is tailor-made for him. At the end of the day, Robert Helenius is a good fighter. It was a good fight to come back on, but it was also a fighter that stylistically he was kind of tailor-made for Wilder, and Wilder has a lot of experience in fighting him. It is what it is. So at the end of the day, I'm kind of disappointed only because I wanted to see what Wilder had learned, outside of just seeing that he was moving a lot. But I wanted to see a little bit more. I wanted to see what he's been really working on outside of the fact that he's moving a lot more. I didn't get to see that because the fight ended so quickly, So it is what it is. Robert was coming off two of his best wins in his career, but against a guy that was easy to hit and easy to time. Wilder is a different beast, and Wilder showed us that night that, hey, he knocked him out. No, it's not the greatest win of the century, all right? But it's a good confidence booster for Wilder to get him back in the winner's circle. And what I can't do is I can't base anything off of just that win. People are going to talk about he'll knock out Usyk now. He'll knock out AJ now. He'll knock out whoever now. No, you can't base it off that fight because I didn't see enough. I seen him knock out a guy that he was supposed to knock out. These other fighters, not only are they more durable than Robert Helenius, but they're not as easy to hit. They're not easy targets like Robert Helenius. So their fight really didn't do anything but give Wilder confidence and getting him back in the ring. So, like I said yesterday before I logged off, I said, if you weren't here last night, I'll just give you my prediction on how I think the heavyweight division is going to go. Okay. Fury is going to fight Chisora for the third fight this December. All right. If, if, all the stuff with Usyk, if Fury wins, which we expect him to win, I believe that Fury is going to fight Usyk early next year. Maybe not by March, but maybe by May. Fury is going to fight Alexander Usyk for undisputed. Okay. If Usyk wins, I expect Usyk to retire. If Fury wins, I expect Fury to at some point still fight AJ. If he fights AJ, it wouldn't be for an undisputed fight. All right. On the other side, I see Wilder fighting Andy Ruiz next. All right. The Usyk talk is cool. I'm not saying it isn't possible. It may be possible, but I don't believe that fight is going to happen. I believe that Usyk is going to wait for Fury. And I believe that Wilder is going to have a pay-per-view with Andy Ruiz. I think Anthony Joshua is going to have his tune-up, all right, against Atul Wallin or whoever. And then by the second half of the year or by the summer, he might have a fight with Fury if he is to beat Usyk later in the year for next year. All right. I think the only wild card fight is maybe, depending if the fights don't go the way that many of us plan, I think that like Fury or Joshua might happen, or even Wilder or Joshua might happen. I don't know. I'm thinking Joshua and Wilder more in early of 2024. Okay. But that is just how I think the fights are going to go in the future. All right. So that's just my thoughts on that. All right. Joe says Wilder will always be the same fighter. Wilder will always be the same fighter. But I do think that Wilder has made, very small improvements with every fight. Right. Otto Wallen isn't no tune-up. You're right. You're absolutely right. I agree with you. He can spoil everything. He isn't a tune-up. He's not a tune-up. But I do think that AJ beats him. I think that is a very credible win. And I do think that AJ can beat him. But you are right. It's not a tune-up fight. That is a real fight for sure. So my bad on that. Joyce, unfortunately, Joyce is going to have to wait, and no one's going to voluntarily fight him. Okay. He's going to have to wait and for his opportunity to fight as a mandatory for the WBO. And if Usyk fights Fury next, in his next fight, he's just going to have to wait the winner. And I don't believe the winner is going to fight Joe Joyce. All right. I think this one undisputed fight coming up that could come up between Fury and Usyk will be the only undisputed fight. I think whatever wins, some of those belts are going to be relinquished, and Joyce is probably going to win a title by having a belt given to him, because I don't believe that any guy is going to voluntarily fight Joe Joyce. I don't believe it's going to happen. It's unfortunate because he's coming off an amazing performance against Joe Parker, but at the end of the day, I don't think there's anyone that's going to voluntarily fight Joe Joyce. They're not going to fight him unless they absolutely have to. And, after Fury and Usyk fight, I don't think that either one of them is going to want to fight him. I think they're going to pass up the belt and take a bigger fight later at the end of the day. All right. No one's going to fight Joe Joyce. No one. And that's not even to say that I think Joe Joyce can beat everybody, but I think the risk involved is extremely high, and guys, these fighters are going to want other opportunities. They would rather fight each other before, it's no different from like Boots Ennis in welterweight. It's like, I feel like Spence and Crawford just need to fight each other because Boots can ruin the plans. I'm not saying that he would win, but if this fight doesn't happen now between these two top welterweights, you're running the risk of fighting a very, very good very, very good. A kid that many of us think is going to be a pound for pound future fighter right away. And I don't think Jolis is like that guy that can spoil the plans at the heavyweight division. All right. So anyway, that's how I feel about that. All right. So I'm gonna go to the last fight, and that's Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall. And I know I spoke a lot about this fight earlier. About everything outside of the ring. It was personally my favorite fight of the day. Okay, by far, it was definitely my favorite fight. It lived up to the hype. Okay. And I want to say that I'm really, really proud of what these two did. Even Savannah, even with defeat, I'm really proud of what they did with female boxing. Same thing with Serrano and Taylor, which we got earlier this year. They did well here in New York at the Garden, and these two did well in the UK. Both were great fights. And I really want to say, especially with Clarissa, I'm very, very proud of her. I was so happy during that post-fight speech and she did in the ring. How classy she was and how honest she was in that that post-fight interview. And I love the fact that they both embraced each other. And it was a great fight. It was a great fight. I had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that fight. Clarissa Shields, I loved her defense. I love the accuracy. I love the big power shots she landed. I love her explosiveness. I loved how relaxed she was throughout the whole fight, even with all of the pressure. She kept it cool. She looked fine. She didn't look like, she got hit with a couple good shots, but she showed how durable she was. She actually beat Savannah and fought her in her own fight. She didn't move a lot more often than we normally see her move, because she's always been kind of flat-footed. So I think that's one of the things that Savannah forced her into doing. It was moving a lot more. But she was extremely effective, man. I mean, she landed some big right hands. And it seemed like whenever Savannah landed a big shot, it seemed like Clarissa would land another one, one or two more. Just the accuracy and a skill set. Savannah fought well, but there was a gap as far as skills between the two, I would love to see a rematch. Again, I'm not here for an immediate rematch. I said this earlier. We don't always need immediate rematches. There's still so many fights that Savannah can take. There's a lot of fights at 168 because she is big at 160. There's still so many fights. There's still so much that she can do, The one thing about Savannah Marshall, though, that I will say is that, well, you know what? I don't want to say it because I did watch it again. I said this last night. One thing I said last night is I expected Savannah to box a little better. And I think she started the fight with, like, she was coming forward. She was throwing her jab. All right. And she was just trying to plan and set up opportunities. But the way Clarissa started the fight, being so aggressive and like ambushing her the way she did and landing that combinations and landing those big shots early, I think it kind of drew Savannah off. And some of the things that we normally see with her, like, these are things that I was worried and concerned about Savannah. I thought, I was worried about some of the angles and I was worried about her stepping around Clarissa, and we didn't see that part. We just saw a fully pressure fighter in Savannah. We didn't see like some of the skills that we've seen in other fights. And I think it had a lot to do with Clarissa because Clarissa was landing some really heavy shots. And I think it threw off Savannah's game, like as far as what we normally see, But to add to that, Savannah has never fought a boxer nearly as talented as Clarissa. So maybe what she normally does and what normally works for her, it didn't really work out in this fight here, you know? And I think part of it has to do with how Clarissa started the fight. She started the fight very aggressive. And I think that kind of threw Savannah Marshall off because she's more capable than what I saw as far as the skills of one. And I'm not taking anything away from Clarissa. What I'm saying is some of the things that I've seen Savannah do in other fights, I didn't see her do it. You know, she was a lot more limited in this fight. And she was just, it was all volume and less skill and accuracy. It was this volume, pressure, 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 trying to outwork Shields. Shields has great cardio. She has great cardio. And even though there was a few rounds in that second half, like the 6th round, 7th round, there was a few rounds in there where Savannah started to pick it up and Shields started to slow down just a little bit. Shields still held her own and still landed big shots too. You know, even the rounds that I gave to Savannah, because I scored it 7 rounds to 3. Even the few rounds that I gave to Savannah, I still don't feel like they were clear. Like there was a lot of rounds that I gave. Those few rounds that I gave her, I still felt like Clarissa still was landing a lot of big shots there. You know, uh, Savannah did great, but Shields is just too good. She's just too good. You know, she's good at every area. She can counter. She's fast. She's a better defender. You know, she's durable. She has great conditioning. She's good in every single area. Every single area. You know, I mean, we can sit here and nitpick on things that she can work on, but you have to nitpick. You know, it's nothing that's clear. And I think, you know, I appreciate, you know, somebody said earlier, Savannah showed much respect. Savannah, you know, I watched her interviews. She said she felt that she lost. She thought the fight should have been a little closer as far as with the scorecards, but she said that, you know, she lost the fight. You know, she felt that she lost the fight, you know, and she gave Clarissa props and said that she's the greatest. And it is what it is, you know. Like I said earlier, you know, and I spoke a lot about this earlier in this live. I said, you know, I just wish that Clarissa got more acknowledgement in America. You know, I wish she was bigger here and on a commercial level. Maybe we'll get that from here on. You know, maybe she'll get the sponsorships and we could see her in commercials and stuff. That I would love to, but we'll see. You know, she looked great last night. Great performance. She is the best. You know, I don't know don't know what's next for her. I would love to see a Savannah Marshall rematch down the line, but I want to see Savannah like take some other good fights, top fights out there as well. You know, I want to see her. I want to see her become champion again, and that's all. That's all I could really say. You know, it was a great fight. You know, and it was a great the card and everything. It was great, historical fight. But I personally think, and I'm not talking, you know, so Clarissa is a 3-time undisputed champion. Um, you know, I don't know how much she can continue to like show. But she's the best that I've ever seen. You know, I said this earlier. She's the best I've ever seen. You know, I mean, from a technical standpoint, she's the best woman boxer I've ever seen. I mean, even from the ones in the past, she's just so good, you know. And she looked very comfortable and relaxed in there with the pressure. You know, I one thing that I was a little concerned about was mentally, you know, because she gets kind of wild, you know, and it's a lot of emotion in their interviews and the face-offs that they had. So being that Savannah seemed to be a lot more calm in their interactions, I felt like Clarissa might be forcing like a knockout. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want Clarissa to go in there and fight wild. But when the bell rung, it seemed like Clarissa looked like the more mature, seasoned fighter that she is. And Savannah was the one that I felt didn't fight in her full capabilities because, she fought in a way where she didn't really fight smart. She just fought with aggression. And I feel like on a mental standpoint, I felt like Clarissa was winning even on that standpoint, not just by skills in boxing, you know? Um, so yeah, no, you got to give Clarissa a lot of props. And like I said too earlier, when it comes to these predictions, man, there were a lot of people that said Clarissa was going to get knocked out, you know? And listen, this is boxing. We're all wrong. I'm wrong at times. We're all wrong. At the end of the day, um, we're all wrong with the predictions. We get them wrong. But I just thought it was just real disrespectful how people thought that Marshall was just going to go in there and knock her out. Like Clarissa was on the same level of some of the fighters that Marshall has fought. She's not. I never thought that there was going to be a knockout in this fight. I didn't think Clarissa was going to knock out Marshall, and I didn't think Marshall was going to knock out Clarissa. I knew it was going to be a tough fight, but just saying that this woman that accomplished all that she has accomplished and actually have moved down in weight, to collect more undisputed titles, for her to get knocked out, I just didn't see it. Like how? Like what have we seen in a Clarissa Shields fight which made people feel that she would get knocked out? So there's a lot of people that definitely has to eat crow, because Shields, Shields' skills, you can't deny her skill set. You could say whatever you want. You might not like her, but her skills are on a different level from everybody that I've seen box on a female in the female world. Okay, and it's by a lot to me. She can do it all. All right, so congrats to her. And yes, I agree. Roland, I agree with what you said. Roland Curtis says, yes, Clarissa Shields deserves to be on a Serena Williams type level in the States. And this is what I was saying earlier. She should be like that. She should, but, tennis is a different sport. So it is what it is. Boxing is not as popular, I was going to speak a little bit on that, Marcus, about the adding the 3 minutes or 12 2-minute rounds for women. I think that there should be 3-minute 10 rounds. All right. Over 12-minute 2 rounds. When you only have 2 minutes, it changes. And I've said this too in a prediction with this fight here. It can ruin the rhythm that you have going in that round. The round ends too quickly. Sometimes it takes a full 30 seconds just to even get things going in that round, not just in the first round, but in any round. 3-minute 10 rounds. It's great. Give them a full 3 minutes to fight. Give them that so we can see the back and forth. How many fights have we seen? If I covered where I said, like, I felt like this fighter won the first minute of that round. This fighter won the second minute of this round. And I had to score the round based on how the last minute or 30 seconds of that round went. Who finishes stronger? When it's only 2 minutes, it's like What if Clarissa wins the first half of that round and Marshall wins the second half? It makes the rounds harder to score. You know what I'm saying? Once you have 3, it's like the best out of 3. Win 2 out of 3 minutes of that round, unless, obviously if you got hit with a big shot that, made you fall back or you were hurt by a shot, of course that's going to sway how you scored a round. If you're both scoring, but if you hit someone with a punch that knocks them back, all right, I'm going to give you the round. But if it's like a real close round, and it's over in 2 minutes, it's like, and then if you are a pressure fighter like a Savannah Marshall, let's say Clarissa in the first 2 minutes is landing the more effective shots, which she was in this fight. But she's burnt out by the 2 minutes. And in the 3rd minute, Savannah just dominates her. How many fights have we seen, even with Joshua and Usyk, where I felt like, damn, Joshua was doing good, and then Usyk just exploded and won the round by finishing so strong. So you got to give them 3 minutes, in my opinion. If they're going to keep it, they're going to keep it. But I prefer 3-minute rounds over 2-minute 12 rounds. 12 rounds, you're just making a fight a couple of rounds longer. You're not really changing the fight. We need the fight to change by making them fight for longer each round. But keep it at 10. I don't think it should go to 3-minute 12 round fights. Give them 10 rounds, but let them do 3 minutes. That's just my opinion. And that's always been my stance on this. I don't know if I probably said it before. All right. 954. I seen your comment about Emmanuel Rodriguez versus Gary. Now, I didn't go back and watch the fight. All right. I didn't go back and watch it. I had it on mute. But from what I saw, it looked like Gary was losing pretty much the whole fight, was getting hurt continuously. I had it on mute, and it looked like the headbutt caused the stoppage. And I think Manny won on the cards from what I saw, because I watched it while I was doing a commentary last night, but I had it on mute and I was covering the other fight. So I've never been that impressed with Gary Antonio Russell. It's just, I've said this the other day on my live. Gary Antonio Russell has never been that great to me. But the reason why I couldn't make a prediction is because Manny has taken some hard losses lately. So I wasn't really sure how the fight was going to go. But it looked like Manny looked like the Manny of old, and did his thing, and dominated from what I was watching. It looked like Russell just couldn't get it going. Manny was outboxing him. Manny was hurting him. And the headbutt thing was messed up. But, I'm not really sure what Gary could do. I just don't think he's really that good. I think on an elite level, I think he's talented, but on the elite level, I don't think, I've never seen, just judging on the eye test, I've never seen anything that was incredible. I think Antoine and I think the oldest Gary, just a different level as far as talent. I never was really that impressed with Antonio. But shout outs to Manny Rodriguez, because I do like him, and that's a big win because he's had it tough lately. He hasn't really boxed well, and he's taken some losses. So I am a fan of him, and I'm glad that he was able to pick up a win. A good win at that. All right, but I never revisited the fight, so I'm assuming, just based on what I was seeing, that the fight was stopped due to the headbutt, and that they probably went to the cards where. And Manny should have been up pretty wide on the points, in my opinion. All right. So listen, that's my views, man. Listen, I'm gonna get out of here, man. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Please, if you are new, subscribe to the channel. Also smash the like button. Everybody on your way out, hit that thumbs up for me on your way out. And I think I covered everything. I'm not sure what we're getting this weekend. I got to look at the schedule, but you know, I think I've been giving you guys content for the last 4 or 5 days. So I'm going to keep it going, keeping that energy going, keep giving you guys content as much as I can. And I appreciate all the support, everybody that came through last night. We had a great time. Shout out to all the new subscribers. All right. All the supporters. Thank you for the donations. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care. Peace.